Hello everyone. In the last video, I have presented what a learning target or assessment target is, what the components are, and the criteria to evaluate a learning target. In this video, we will discuss some basics to write a learning target using a well-established model of thinking skills and a model of communicative language ability. Let's start with how to write the content of a learning target based on the communicative language ability framework. Communicative language ability or competence has been the most common type of outcome for language teaching and learning in recent decades, so it is necessary for the modern language teachers to understand it well. To identify the target language knowledge or skills for assessment, it may be useful to refer to Bachman's communicative language ability framework. Bachman is an expert in language testing. As you can see, there are 4 components of communicative language ability. The first 2 are language competence, which include grammatical knowledge and textual knowledge, and strategic competence, which is the capacity for implementing the language used in practical contexts. The third component named word knowledge, and the fourth one named psychophysiological mechanisms, or how our body and mind function. Both affect the strategic competence of the language user. Bachman classified the first component called language competence in 2 parts, organizational competence and pragmatic competence. Each of these components is still further divided. According to him, language involves the interaction between different components. Organizational competence is the more familiar component in language competence. It includes grammatical and textual competence. Grammatical competence consists of the ability like knowledge of vocabulary, morphology, syntax, etc. Textual competence includes the knowledge of the rules to form a spoken or written text. For example, the rules of cohesion and rhetorical organization. Pragmatic competence, on the other hand, indicate the important relation between the user of the language and the context of communication. Pragmatic competence include illocutionary competence and social-linguistic competence. Illocutionary competence is the ability to choose among several alternative ways of using English to suit the specific purposes, such as to express ideas or feelings or to request for things. Social-linguistic competence means the knowledge of the social-linguistic rules for performing language functions suitably in a given context. For example, language users need to know the differences in the variety of English, differences in the formal and informal styles, etc. Bachman's model is just one of the many models of language ability. To assess language proficiency, teachers can use Bachman's model as a reference for designing the contents of the assessment. Teachers can also refer to the model to know if their current course focuses on organizational competence or pragmatic competence. To write learning targets, teachers can identify the language knowledge they want to teach or assess in the model of language ability and specify it. How to specify may depend on your context, but the teachers can study practical examples of language proficiency standards, such as the CEFR level description. For instance, organizational competence is more frequently used for students of lower levels of proficiency. To write a learning target for students with low level of English, we may focus on the use of vocabulary in the grammatical competence, and for students in B1 level, the content of our learning or assessment target may be a wide range of familiar academic vocabulary. Wow, we have just talked about a highly theoretical issue. Are you still with me? Now, let's move on to the second instrument we can use to write the performance part in the learning target, the Bloom Taxonomy of Cognitive Skills, which is a comprehensive outline of a range of cognitive skills. The taxonomy classifies cognitive skills into 6 major levels, from simple to complex. The simplest level is named knowledge, which is the recall of specifics and genera, methods and processes, etc. It means students need to bring to their minds the appropriate material. Action for this level include define, know, identify, list, memorize, name, recall, etc. Next, comprehension means the student know what is being communicated and can generally make use of the material or idea being communicated. Some example action of comprehension are describe, discuss, explain, express, etc. Application is the next level, which indicates the use of abstractions such as general ideas, rules of procedures, or methods, technical principles, ideas, and theories. The student can employ, exhibit, illustrate, or interpret, to name a few actions. The two levels of knowledge and comprehension are often referred to as lower order thinking skills due to their simple nature. Meanwhile, the three levels of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation form the so-called higher order thinking skills in Bloom's taxonomy. Analysis means the breakdown of a communication into its parts so that the structures of ideas and the relation between ideas are becoming clearer. For example, students can classify, organize, restructure, etc. as they are performing analysis. Synthesis means putting together the elements and parts so as to form a whole or a pattern which does not exist before. Example actions are combining, composing, constructing. Evaluations are the judgment about the level that materials and methods satisfy criteria in a standard of appraisal. Actions of students are very complex. They may argue, estimate, infer, or judge, etc. When teachers need to write the performance part of a learning or assessment target, they can use the list of verbs for each level in Bloom's taxonomy to describe the performance they expect the student to make. For example, in the learning target, explain the new words in the reading text in your own words. The level of thinking skill is comprehension. In another example, employ a variety of complex sentence structures. The level of thinking skills is application. It is important to remember that some learning tasks may involve more than one thinking skill, so the teacher needs to clarify the targets with the conditions of performance. Here are some more examples of language tasks at varied thinking levels. I hope you can see some good examples of learning and assessment targets in this video. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye for now.